Okay, so we're just gonna, after all of that intensity, we're going to talk about just some of the stuff about dating. And some of you probably know some of this, some of you may not. You're out of practice, who knows? But um, we all have points of view about that we're going to go date and we're going to meet somebody, it's going to be this and that. And so I just kind of wanted to put all this out there and have you just sort of digest it in the way you do, and then we can certainly dialogue about it if necessary. But dating itself takes energy, and it takes time, and it takes strength. um, it's not a one thing that you dip your toe in the water. I mean, sometimes back before COVID, you'd go somewhere and you'd meet somebody and you'd either connect or not connect and you'd get together. But in the land of COVID, it's like, it's a different process. The good news about that, if you are going to do online dating, is that there's more people online than ever, and people that ordinarily don't go online. So I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that said I would never online date, but I am now because I'm sick and tired of, I don't want to, I got to do it. There's no other way. So, but it does take energy and time, because if you are being present with yourself and you are working through your reactions to what happens with each experience, it takes a lot, and it is involved when you start talking to people. So an intentional dating, that's what I'm referencing, it does require presence and patience, and staying away from our expectations and some of that magical thinking that was spoken about in the Enchanted piece of the book. And you have to know that you may get triggered, that maybe you'll be into somebody and then they drop off, or something, a misunderstanding happens and you don't get closure or whatever that means. But it's just important that you keep learning how and why your system responds to something. You're going to experience some loss, whether that's a real loss with someone that you thought you were interested in, or you start to tap into loss from the past. You're going to feel afraid and some level, whether it's just garden variety nerves or whether you're truly afraid to connect to somebody. I mean, all of you have to decide where you fall on that spectrum so you can temper your outreach or how you approach it in a way that you can tolerate and not overstimulate yourself. Sometimes people get excited about the stimulation of dating, especially in online dating. There's so many choices and so many options, and you can get stimulated to that attention. And it's an avoidance thing about dealing with your true fear about actually being present with someone. So, and you will be reminded of past losses. And of course, your best response is to use each interaction as a tool to develop yourself, to get closer to who you are now and what makes sense to you. I mean, we all tend to fall back to ideas we had when we were 20 or 30, or and some of you were younger, but we don't think to update, where am I now and what's really going to work for me now. And I think we have to know, even if we haven't ever experienced it, you have to at least on some level know there are many, many, many opportunities. I mean, I think that sort of a crass joke that we probably all heard, there's always, if you miss the bus, there'll be another one. I don't want to look at it in that context, but there's not a limited supply of love potentials. It's really about attracting, staying in it long enough and staying with a process that you're going to pull someone in that actually feels right to you. And you don't have to settle, and you don't want to rush and force and let your fear or self-doubt or scarcity drive your process. And when you are in a process of dating, you may and probably will have to take breaks, and then you have to jump back in and keep going at it. And that's really part of it. Now, for those of you who don't want to go online, you're like, oh, hell no, I'm not doing it. You're going to have to start being engaged in the world. And I know it's COVID, but you go to the grocery store and there's a few places that are open. But when you're out there, you better damn well better be making eye contact with people. You better be smiling. You better be saying hello. You got to get out of yourself. You've got to be comfortable talking to strangers at the store. Hey, what do you think of this tomato? You know, are these good bananas? You know, you got to be able to engage uh, energetically and physically. And your goal is to, I mean, to engage and make someone else feel good. So ask a question, make a compliment, stretch yourself, you know, or if, you know, depending on what your COVID restrictions are, you know, try some different things. Don't just do your same routine. You know, go to a different grocery store, drive across town and go, you know, go someplace you don't usually go. Try and shake it up, but don't keep doing the same thing every day. I take this route, take a turn here, get to the grocery store, I go down this aisle, I start with the veggies, I head over to the dairy. And I mean, come on, you're going to have to shake it up, but mostly you've got to make eye contact and smile and try and engage, you know, hold a stare, be there with someone and see if you can start a conversation with someone that you find, I don't know, just from an exterior feeling, oh, that person is either approachable or, you know, attractive to me or whatever it may be. Yes, no, maybe. And you have to learn how to spot scammers and catfishers if you're online. For any of you who haven't done online dating, there's a bunch of them out there. If you're into it, on MTV, there's a program called Catfish. Neve Schulman created it, and it was from a story of his own life. It was a documentary where he was like a 27-year-old something in New York City, and I think he's a photographer, and he gets this letter in the mail and with a picture of someone, this beautiful young 20-something woman, you know, is really, you know, letting him know she thought he was amazing or whatever. So they begin this long distance relationship, and he's really falling in love with her because she's just amazing. And she writes him poetry and sends him artwork and sends him music that she supposedly wrote. And then after a few months, he's like, I have to meet this woman. And he embarks on a journey to go meet her. He's in New York, and I think she was in Minneapolis or something like that. And so he and his friend, they document the whole trip. And with each day they go to it and he's communicating with her, he's starting to see that there's something not right. And then he finds out one of the songs she sent him was actually belonged to someone else. And then by the time he makes it to her home in the Minneapolis or whatever, he's pretty much getting that this isn't who I thought I was talking to. And long story short, it ended up being, you know, someone 20 years his senior and a very nice woman. And she didn't even admit it when he got there, but he spent a day or two there and they finally came to the truth about it. And supposedly they're still some type of friends at this point. And part of the story of how the catfish name came to be was because she had an aquarium and there was a catfish in there in the tank and it did sort of this hiding thing in the tank. And he just had this moment of like, well, this is like a catfish. It hides and then it comes out. And anyhow, but it was such a traumatic experience for him that he really fell in love with this woman, and it wasn't who he thought it was. And that's how that series began. And Dr. Phil also has some really good episodes on scammers, but usually they're going to be people who are from a long distance. They're from people who can't see you right away. They're from people who will not video chat with you. They're from people who are going to want to get serious right away. And they're going to go, oh my God, you're the most beautiful. You're the most handsome. I'm looking for a long-term relationship. I want to get married. I mean, in the first interaction, they're going to say things that they think men or women are wanting to hear. And then they're unavailable. They can't talk on the phone and they can't video chat. And then often at some point they start asking you for money. And I mean, Dr. Phil does these a lot because he's had women on his show who have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars because of this feeling of love they have for this person. And they often don't spell correctly because most of them are from Nigeria, and English is not their first language. And so they'll say, I'm an orthopedic surgeon. And then their message to you says, I like to do a thing on Saturday. And I mean, it's riddled with all these grammatical issues and punctuation. You're like, you're an orthopedic surgeon and you can't type a cohesive sentence. So anyhow, learn to do that, and just if you're going to be online. So let's see what we got here. Yeah, claims to be out of the country and wants to get married. Right, perfect. They don't answer direct questions and use poor grammar. Yes, all of that stuff for sure. So I'm curious, how many of you are going to do online dating versus just being out there in public? Which direction are you going with this? Or you don't have to know, but I am kind of curious. And you can chat it. You don't have to unmute unless you want to. Online, okay. And Cheryl, how are you feeling about these? I mean, do you feel like you're with this program, or what are you thinking about that?
Totally with it.
Yeah.
Totally with it. I'm very excited about all of it. So, and the online I tried a while back, but I wasn't ready. And that's why I stepped back and I started doing, like your program and stuff to really be ready to step back out there. I did run into one person like catfishing, but it took me a minute to recognize it. I had to talk to somebody because I was kind of new to all of it. And then now it'll be easier for me to spot, But,
yeah, and also I think Bobby had just put in there, a lot of times they're widowers. And they're gonna show you a picture of them with a young child, like they're still parenting or something, and how family is so important. I think everybody, I think you try and date on apps or websites that are good for your age. I know, for example, eHarmony is really more Christian based, and it's for, there's a certain demographic. If you Google your age group and different characteristics of who you are, you'll get some of the top websites or apps. But sometimes it's just trying what works for you. Like some apps or websites, you get a big, giant, long profile where you can write for days. Other apps, it's like 5 sentences. It's like, this is all you get to say, and you upload your pictures. So I would date first by your age and your demographic. If you're Jewish, maybe you want to do JDate. If you're 50 and above, you might want to do our time. But you just go with your gut on it and try some different things. And there's a lot of, like, Facebook dating, by the way, is free for anybody. A lot of these others you have to sign up for and pay a fee. But a lot of my clients have had great success with Facebook dating. And Facebook dating is separate from Facebook itself. So, if you don't want to have people know you're dating, they won't.
Phyllis?
Yes.
Jerry. One thing I discovered about eHarmony, which gave me great admiration for them, by the way, is that they only have a very narrow profile that they can match. And they won't take they have a like hour and a half long application form you fill out. And at the end of that, they will either say to you, here's our price range, or they will say, we can't help you. They won't take your money if they don't think they can help you, which I thought was, more ethics than I expected from an online dating program.
Definitely. I remember that now that you said it. And it is good because a lot of them are more generic, but you will find different demographics populate certain apps and websites. So.
And there are actually, they're not, I went on one because a friend told me I should, called Spiritual Singles. And I got a couple of the 2 first name guys who are working in a foreign country and have one child in a boarding school and are orphans. And here's the sentence that's a dead tip off. I'm all alone in the world. They will, every one of them will say to you, I am all alone in the world. I got like 30 of them in a week.
Yeah, lucky you. Well, clearly you know how to spot them. That's great. So, you know, exactly. Everybody might have an experience. Most people tell me they like Match.com generically because it's broad-based. People tell me they like Bumble. What do I also hear? Facebook dating, and sometimes Zeus. Those are the ones I hear from the most from my people where they've met people. But, you know, it just depends on many factors. But I would just start with your demographic, your age, and Google what are the best sites for that. Yeah, Facebook, well, yeah, you have to access it from your phone, but yeah, you have to access it from your phone. You can't access it from a desktop. So it ends up being an app. Melda says, I'm on Match and had signed up for 4 different sites. Match is working for me, good. Sonia says, I like Hinge, Facebook dating, and Bumble. Yeah. Melody, this is all very informative. Thank you everyone for your tips and recommendations. Yes, good. And Barry, you said nope. Does that mean nope to online dating or nope, you're not going to date? What does that mean?
Nope to online.
So then you're going to have to be out there in the world smiling it up.
Well, I do behind my mask.
Oh, well, then maybe you're going to have to learn to dance. Well, then maybe, I mean, of course, you're in Missouri, so you can't get outside much right now, but.
We are finally, after 15 days, above freezing.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God.
We had 9 days below 15.
Oh, my God. Oh, Barry.
So it's, I'm ready to get to my favorite place.
Okay. Well, as soon as you're able, anything outdoors to help you be able to, you know, you can take the mask off 6 feet, whatever, so that you can do eye contact, smile, and you're going to the grocery store, but you can still talk. You can still engage in conversations with someone who looks accessible, or even if they don't, you want to challenge yourself to do this. And I know the first time I decided to go out and start dating again after being out of it for a while, I said, you know what? I'm not really attracted to this person, but they seem nice. I'm going to get the hell out of my house. Okay. And it was really an exercise, not to diminish him, but it was an exercise in me just getting out and making myself available in a certain way. Sherry, was there something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just Googled Facebook dating on my phone and it gave me a message that said it's not available in Arkansas.
Oh, bummer. Well, so it's not the right place for you, but I like
That's
it.
clearly not the one for me.
Yeah, I like it just because I like it because it's free, basically.
I would like that too.
Yes. What else here? Whoops, let's see. I went too far ahead. Okay, so let me go, and here's the truth about dating too. Let me put these out of the way. And this is from going from dating into a relationship. I think, and we've heard some of this before, make sure you want it. You know, we may have been single so long, we don't have a good awareness about what it takes to be functional in a relationship. I mean, that was certainly true for me. And you update your information and come forward from the past. So, I mean, this inner check is super important, you know, and so don't talk yourself into something because you have this beautiful vision of where you want to end up. Just keep tracking where you are and only go to the threshold that you can tolerate. And you want to be called to it. I mean, like Barry's like, oh, hell no, I'm not online dating. And I do feel a little bit of resistance just towards kind of smiling and all that, but just make sure that you're with yourself, but do your best to keep that forward momentum no matter what the pace that momentum is. Next, don't rush to define a relationship when you start dating. It will define itself mostly. I mean, the more you stay with it, it'll become clear. You know, there's conversations that need to be had, but we don't have to manufacture, push, force, and we shouldn't. We have to ask for what we want, of course, when we know what that is. But we don't have to worry about it. It's going to do what it's going to do, and you want to trust that. And when speaking about next steps, you want to be gentle, step lightly. You know, your partner also has a history. Your partner can also get scared. They have their triggers. Recognize that these moments are a challenge for both of you. You both have an inner narrative. And then when you're trying to go from dating to a relationship, start thinking beyond dinner or however you've been doing it, and think about trying activities, whether it's biking, dancing, day trips, whatever, projects together. Post-COVID, you can get outdoors, but when you go beyond just getting together and looking at each other and chatting, you learn about your compatibility through the interactions. I mean, boy, do you learn about someone if you try and build something together. You know, people's patience level and how frustrated they get. And those things will either bring you closer or not. And as you begin to deepen the relationship, keep maintaining your autonomy and insist they maintain theirs. You guys do not have to be joined at the hip every 5 minutes. You know, continue to embrace the activities and interests that made your life happy before you decided to add someone else to the equation, and give your partner to do the same, permission to do the same. Granted, when a relationship is new, you do want to hang out with each other a lot, I mean, because you're drawn to it, but you don't want to not see your friends. You don't want to give up those parts of your life because you're so enmeshed in this new dynamic. Take your time. If it's a good fit now, it's going to be a good fit in 6 months. I mean, if it's right, it's right. You don't have to rush it. And that goes hand in hand with the worrying. And finally, there's a line between over pursuing, especially for women, and then assuring your partner you care. You know, and I think at the point when you're able to create safety with each other, you're having respect for each other, true feelings will emerge, and that's that piece where it becomes clear. And, you know, I'm saying to my clients, ask for what you want. We often get in the position of saying to our partner, well, you make me feel like this, or you did this, so I feel that way. We want to stay in the I position, and we want to always talk from a point of view of, well, this is who I am, and what would be nice for me is this, and see if they can meet you there. But too often our fears drive us into criticizing our partners rather than pulling them into us closer through intimacy and vulnerability. And now I feel more comfortable looking for friendships rather, well, of course. I mean, that's an excellent point, that this is, I mean, that's how I think you should approach it. However, and we're going to get to this next, well, momentarily. I'm not going to answer that question fully because we're going to get to it. And I want to get to the next slide, but you've made a good point, and we'll talk about that. We want to look at the dynamic of masculine and feminine energy on purpose, intentionally, because we all have male and female energy to varying degrees in our space. And this is just a general graphic, which reminds us what tend to be the most male energies and the most female energies. The male energies are always more logical, disciplined, assertive. Feminine energies are more nurturing, empathetic, and intuitive. And it's not an all or nothing, so don't take me to task for that. But I had a woman in a class, this was a live class some years ago, where she had a job that was, she had to carry a gun, quite frankly. She had to go into homes where you had to remove children sometimes from their families, right? So you can imagine tempers can flare in that scenario, right? And she was a tiny little thing, you know, beautiful, but you didn't want to mess with her. She knew how to take care of herself, right? And her assistant actually used to call her sir because she was such a badass. And so when she would go out on dates and start meeting people, she was pretty much an interrogator. Are you this? Are you that? Do-do-do-da-do-do-da-da-da. And so as we looked at her style, part of her process was really about, how do I connect to my feminine? I have this masculine piece that's required in my job, and then I'm actually really good at running this masculine energy to organize situations and such. But when I'm trying to attract a partner who wants a feminine, wants a partner, a woman, not the masculine, how do I lean into those feelings? So it started with her you know, the first thing was to have her assistant stop calling her sir, you know, and the second thing was, you know, start wearing lacy panties. Sorry, Barry, it's getting a little girly girl here, but start wearing lacy panties or just high heels in your house, things that are traditionally sexy or determined to be sexy or make you feel sexy or feminine, that only a girl, theoretically, and in most scenarios, not all, but generically speaking, that a girl would wear. And feel what it's like to feel that and get used to and remember what feminine energy feels like. And when you're interacting with someone, this is heterosexual, I'm speaking about, when you're interacting with that, then you activate your feminine, get out of your masculine and be a girl, you know. And the same is true for a man. You know, if you're a gentle dude and you have a lot of the feminine traits, good for you, because ultimately that will really serve you with a woman, because you'll listen to her and you'll be supportive and you'll be patient, all the things that women love, because we love to talk, right? We love to express. But at the same time, know that women generically are drawn to a more assertive, a strong presence, direct and purposeful. So make sure when you're leaning into that space that you're also activating those energies, and think about times in your life when you've been in charge, when you've been able to resolve things and lead the way, whether that's through work situations, or think about times in your life when that has been, you know, if you played sports or something, think about that competitive energy, because the energies attract to each other. They're diametrically opposed in a certain way. They're different, but they do attract to each other. And so if you find that you're having conflicts with people and immediately getting into conflicts on online dating or whatever it is, as a woman, you're going to want to know to dial it back and lean into your feminine side. And when we do that, it works better. I was with a woman last night, a client, and she was talking about this interaction she was having with a guy. And, you know, some guys, Barry excluded, of course, they lack the skill in how to approach women. They lack how to, they don't have the social nuance and understanding of how to approach what's appropriate. Hence why women get D-pics. I mean, right? It's like, really? You thought that I would like that? So, you know, some people just don't know. And so we have to be careful about judging that and stepping back and being able to reframe it in such a way that we can allow the person to come forward and we can actually see. And I know in that situation, I got a text. She says, "Oh my God, Phyllis, he just sent me a D-pic and asked me if it was the right size. What do I say?" And again, deal with the moment you're in. And I said, well, if it were me and I liked the person and clearly he lacks social grace, needs to be trained, I would say, well, you know, this is something I assumed that at some time down the road I would see in person for the first time, not in my Facebook or whatever it was, whatever app she was on. And so she kind of gently corrected, and what her vision was, oh, what's a D-pic? Dick pic, sorry. So I sort of corrected, I'm not going to type it in there, but so I just sort of gave her an approach that was feminine and didn't criticize, but tried to train and let him know that yes, she wanted to eventually see it. Just she had a vision of how that would show up. And then she ended it with, well, it is good size. All in all, it's a good size. So yeah, how depressing. I know. Well, and not everyone lacks social skill, but some people do. We haven't been trained. You know, we learn things from TV shows, we learn things from porn sites, we learn things from religious doctrine. We get all kinds of information about how we're supposed to be, and it can be very confusing. And just because someone makes a misstep or does a blunder like that, you know, I don't know that it's a throwaway situation. It really depends upon your sensibility and what you can tolerate. But the less judgy you can be and really stay in your own energy about it, I think the better. That's kind of the point I'm making. Claudia, seriously, wow. You want to take me to task on that, or you have any questions about this feminine energy and what I just spoke about? Nope. Okay. So now, and this we're just going to go over quickly, because we have talked about online dating quite a bit. Oh, darn it. Let's shrink that screen. We talked about the profiles, and some of you guys did send me some profiles over the week. If I haven't gotten back to them, I will eventually. I'm a little busy all the time. That doesn't mean you shouldn't send it. Just be patient with my response. So you always want to be vulnerable. You want to put yourself forward. Bobby, I'm going to put you in there right now because you're talking about extreme vulnerability, trusting in relationship. And, so you might actually want to put in there like, yeah, I'm kind of open to partnering again, but I do feel vulnerable, and going too fast or coming on too strong could scare me. You want to say things like that. You don't have to go into big detail. I was screwed over when I was 5 and I'll never, you just want to say what's true for you in this moment. Just be honest, but then move into something, also show your fun side. I'm a musician, or I'm an artist, I'm a dancer, show the fun side. You want to show dimension, that you're not just this, but you're actually all of this, 5 or 6 things. Now, and this, Anel, the number 4 goes to your thing about showing up as friends. Yes, we need to be friends first, but that's not where you're trying to go. You're trying to have a romance. And I do believe, and you don't have to agree with me, but I do believe it's important to be flirty and have some expression of underlying passion that is to come. And that you can do that through your pictures and we'll talk about that in a moment. But, playing, being playful with it. It doesn't have to be serious. You're not committing to anything because you tell some guy he's cute or some woman that she's beautiful. You're not committing to anything. You're being expressive in a fun, on the road to romantic way. And if someone takes it too far, then you dial it back or something like that. And you can play with ideas of what that looks like. But you want to tell who you are, not just what you do. Oh, I ride bikes. I'm a painter. I went to this college. I live here. I mean, you can say those things, but you want to say, I'm a creative person, and I'm drawn to people who are more, left brain. Or you want to say, I'm complex, but I'm really amazingly sweet. But you want to really describe the elements of your person, because a lot more people are going to fit into that than you just say, I like going to the beach or whatever. And in your writings, display your feminine, which can go to the flirty. It doesn't have to be flirty, or your masculine. Talk about those things that really illustrate how you're feminine. Look at my picture in my tutu. Those are some of my favorite times in my life. I don't know, but you want to really speak in language that resonates with the nurturing or the aggressive or the competitive, whichever energy you're trying to exhibit. And sometimes there's a blend. And ask and say what you want. And it's not just, oh, I want to get married someday, or I'm looking for a life partner. But you can say, I'm really looking for someone who wants to explore, the idea of partnership, and we'll get there as we get there, but I am looking for or you want to say, what, I'm just dating right now. Maybe it can turn into something else. I just don't know this minute. But ask and tell what you want. And make sure you have good, clear pictures, including a full body. And if you have some issues around your body or your physicality, that's okay. But make sure you get a picture that does you're proud of, that you feel confident about, that shows something. Maybe you've got great legs or great eyes or great abs or a great butt. I don't know. Make sure that you put something out there that you feel good about, and that's something you want to project. And then also avoid the cliches and negative tones. I love romantic walks on the beach. You know, oh, I don't know how to write these profiles. Why do I have to do? Don't go there. Or don't email me if you're this. I'm really done with drama. I mean, don't go that. Don't, be positive, be inviting, go be there, and then be specific. And you don't talk in those generalities of, you know, I'm hoping to find my happily ever after. What the hell is that? You know, happily ever after is a spiritual concept that takes lifetimes of practice to get to, apparently. And then finally, think out of the box, because too much specificity, it's, you know, we end up being judgy, and we stop seeing a person and start seeing their height, their weight, their skin color, and you might factor out the best freaking thing that ever happened to you. For me, one of my judgy things has always been someone's height, because I'm tall, and I've always been a little bit, I don't know, if I'm next to a man, I just have not wanted to be the taller. It made me feel too gigantic. So, but you know, some of my best and most interesting relationships have been with guys who were shorter than me. What the hell? It's a universal joke. But, you know, but I think it's a really good exercise in understanding. You know, I think I have one deal breaker for the most part, and it's usually smoking, because I can't tolerate it for many reasons. But I like a lot of smokers. I don't know why. They're cool. They're interesting people for what, maybe they're edgy. I don't know. And it's really a bummer that I can't tolerate it, because I've excluded a bunch of folks. So, but I just think out of the box as much as you can. And then finally, you always want to update your profile regularly. And even for those of you who don't want to date online, going through the exercise of generating this profile, this idea of what you want and who you are, it's helpful. It helps you pull your energy in and get clear about what you're really projecting into the world on an energy level. Okay. All right, so this is what I maybe, oh, let me look at the chat. I'm sorry. I've been listening to John Gray videos. Yeah, I've learned men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and I have learned that I've been giving off masculine energy by not allowing men to do things for me. For instance, helping me carry something or opening the door. And I realized that receiving help is feminine energy. Oh God, yeah, give a guy something to do. Let him solve a problem for us. You'll make him so happy. Why do you think in the old days a woman would drop her hanky? Give the guy something to do. That's all they could do back in the day. I mean, give him a way to be successful with you and feel like he matters in a way he can fit in your life, especially us powerful women that were so independent. They're like, well, how can you take care of yourself financially? You take care of yourself physically. It's like, you know, where can I find a place to fit in here? So good. Mary, yes, what a difference. Thank you, Phyllis, for helping me reword my profile. Oh, good. I've had more quality matches. Oh my God, that makes me so happy. That's awesome. Melody, great realization. And Shara, Melda, men and women truly are so different. I think this may be one of the hardest writing assignments I've ever had to write. That's wonderful. Great, great. I have a hard time making eye contact with someone I'm attracted to. Any advice on how to overcome this? It is a self-worth issue. Well, not really. It takes courage for sure. I think maybe working your way up to it, practicing with people who aren't that intimidating, and just practicing doing it. I think practice sometimes, you know, we train ourselves a certain way in everything. And if you've practiced, like get a picture of Keanu Reeves, who I know you ran into in Alameda some months ago. Get a picture of Keanu Reeves for the magazine and look at him, I know. And, you know, no one is opposed to kindness and being nice. No one. So being able to look at someone and smile. I know one of these dating coaches I follow on TikTok, um, and I'll try and provide some of these links because I follow 2 dating coaches who are just freaking amazing. But he always says you look someone in the eye, you look away briefly and look back again, and that apparently is the biggest turn on or whatever. You know, that might take quite a bit of confidence, but I think it's something worth practicing in the mirror or with the picture or whatever. So when the time comes, you just kind of take a deep breath and go for it. And I think the more you do it and stop worrying about what's going to happen on the other side, the easier it gets. Okay, so here's the love faucet, and this is what I'm teaching you this because this works. I know how to do this. When I decide to date or see people, I can't keep up. It's plain and simple. It's just impossible to keep up because I know how to be loving. But what you need to do, and this is why we spent so much time on this, manage your fear. I mean, and even Sonia in that last chat, it was like, I can't make the eye contact. I mean, there's fears in there about what you're telling yourself and all of that. You're going to want to lean into that some more so you can give yourself permission to do what you want to do the things that are going to call love to you. You're going to have to do that. You're going to have to go that route. And that's something you're going to want to keep solving. Keep mitigating and dissipating fear's power in your process. You know, I'm jumping to the bottom because it's relevant to the top. Lean into what you say you want. And if you are a spiritual being and you believe existence is endless or / eternal, you know, I believe that. That's my point of view. But the human experience is finite. We're only going to be here for X amount of time and nothing is promised. So you better kind of get in there and do it now. You may not get to do it tomorrow. So, you know, use that sort of as what do I have to lose? You know, they're either going to say yes, they're going to say no, or they're going to be a jerk. Okay, so what, A, B, or C? It doesn't really matter, but you want to give yourself permission to live your life out loud and really be out there. So manage your fear, get into the flow. That should be of exchange in an open, fun, and encouraging manner. And if you have your fear managed, you know, be love, be your badass, wonderful self. And everybody in this group is amazing. Be that, you know, be openness, be receptivity, and refuse to judge. Refuse. Discernment is a different thing. I don't care who it is who would ever message me on a site if I'm like, damn, really? You know, you're 4'2" and you smoke and you like live 1,000 miles away, but I'm still going to say something nice and wish that person well. You know, I'm like, that's a person too who's trying to make something happen in their life, and I want to honor that. And maybe I'm not their person, but you know, I'm not going to make this process harder for them. I'm going to make it easier by being encouraging to them. And yeah, when it comes to discernment, I have my own preferences and things that make my world light up. And that's okay. But judging itself is stop energy to what you're trying to do. Expect delays, changes, and know that every situation will not work out, that it's a process of orienting to like energy. Be vulnerable, put yourself out there, get practice being you and being whatever you want to be. I made too many typos in here, sorry. Got to be vulnerable and be in the I position. Say what's true for you. I do my very best to never get into, unless I'm asking someone a question. So where do you work? What are you doing? It's always about being honest and truthful, not trying to cover up and project something. And then attend to your own reactivity. This is how we raise our vibration. And so when you're talking about calling in a soul partner and having it be organic, that it's going to fit, attending to your own reactivity, to your own process is how the vibration raises. And I can't tell you how many times I've been in a relationship with someone for a period of time, and I get all worked up about whatever, if it's my own stuff, I work through my own stuff. And all of a sudden I start attracting a much higher quality individual or someone who's much more in alignment with what I want or what feels good to me. It works. Be free, be you, let your energy and vitality express itself, and take nothing personally. Even if someone says, you know, you're ugly, you're fat, you're stupid, even if someone were to say that, nobody's going to say that. But even if that's their deal, keep being free. The freer you can be, the better. Step out of your comfort zone. Talk it up at the grocery store. Look at these bananas. There's too many brown spots and they're still charging me 79 cents a bunch. You know, engage. Step out. Engage with people. And then again, just a repeat, just lean into what you say you want. Do it. And if you do these things with regularity, that faucet's going to turn on because you are being loving, you're being open, you're validating other people's experience while you're acknowledging your own, and you're giving yourself permission to really be who you are in the world. And that's what causes people to come to you. You know, I always say when people are talking to me about their conflicts with their partners, I'm like, be truthful. People are responsive to truth. The body just relaxes. You know, be that when you are authentic. I can't tell you how many people said, you know what, Phyllis, you just are who you are and you're unapologetic about it. I'm like, yeah. I mean, I will apologize when I F up, but yes, I'm gonna do me. And I'm telling you, that is part of your secret sauce to turning on the faucet. So are you guys doing this? Is there anything new in here in this that I've said to you, or what do you think? Yes? No? Are you completely lost and think no way? And Jackie, I know you weren't able to be here the first time. It's a calendar issue. You weren't in this class. You were in other classes. So when I sent the email out, it didn't pick up your email. You're not going to online date. So are you going to put yourself out there in a greater way? Are you going to make eye contact? I guess I want to know some of that.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for me is managing my fear.
Yep. We talked a lot about that at the beginning. I'm sorry that you weren't here for that, but you'll get it on the recording. But that is the name of the game. Don't let it stop you. Don't. Let the desire and the joy of connection be the bigger energy in that process. Please, I'm asking. Bavia says, I guess I am very picky, following better be alone than badly accompanied. Well, look, you don't have to, just because you're dating someone doesn't mean you have to get into a relationship or make a commitment to them at any time before you're ready. But there is something about connecting and having the experience of interacting and trying things on that I think is really valuable to a dating process. And we learn a lot about ourselves, and in that fine tuning is how we raise the vibration, and people that are more suited come to us more readily. So, and I'd love for you to change the language from picky to scared. I think you're scared. And picky is a way that we think we're protecting ourselves. So we don't want to protect ourselves. If we need to go slow because we can only tolerate so much feedback, that's okay. Go slow. Only do what you can tolerate, but don't cover up. And you don't have to sign up for anything that doesn't feel good. And I think I certainly know I did that in my lifetime. I signed up for a lot of things that didn't feel good. I talked myself into it. I should do this because XYZ. I don't do that anymore, but I certainly did it in the past. And then we get conditioned to think, oh, I need to partner. This person is into me and they're willing to do this, that, and the other, even though they make me feel like crap these other times. And you justify all that. Okay. Anything else? Oh, I know for me, stepping out and changing my routine / comfort zone will be one of my next steps. Good. I like to go to the grocery store, use the self-checkout, and don't look at people. Okay, no more self-checkout. I don't care how, because if you're in line with someone with their big basket, then you're like, you know, that's your guys are standing there. It's like, I often talk to people in the grocery line, and I'm not trying to get a date at the grocery store. Mainly I'm just going to talk to people. We're standing here for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, depending on how fast the checker is, and a chit chat. And of course, I'm not in New York or something where I live, people chit chat. I don't know where it is, but I spend a lot of time outdoors and seek out places where there aren't people. Well, Anel, I think you've kind of decided, selected your next steps in your comment. Okay, so finally, next week, our last week, boo-hoo, we're going to finish Love Fulfilled. We're going to go the next step and look at your lists. Oh, I'm sorry for the typos. Good heavens, I have to fix all that. It'll be fixed in the final edit, okay? So you're going to share your 5 qualities. I have to leave a few minutes early. Unfortunately, cannot be here next Saturday, last class. Bye, Elizabeth, of course. What have you, and I want to find out what you learned, what you don't know, and where you are today. That means next week, we're going to get a baseline and spend a lot of time on Q&A and next steps. So I just want to make sure everybody is in a good place to go to the next level. Okay. Okay. So you guys are awesome. I appreciate all the wonderful participation and all your honesty and showing up. It's really great. And I hope you have a fabulous weekend, and we'll put the finishing touches on next week. Okay. Mwah. Mwah.